I'm going to show you exactly what's needed in order to do a GY6 swap. And, well, what's on the table here is like the bare minimum of what you would actually need to do a GY6 swap. Now I'm about to show you step by step what you need to get, and the extras that you probably already have done if you had a 50cc. Who in here is about to do a GY6 swap and is clueless and just wants to learn? All right. If you don't know already, this is a GY6 engine. The same engine can be found on this guy. This is the 232cc GY6 engine. On a GY6, when I say GY6, this is actually called a QMJ 157 or QMI 152. That's the real name of these. Some people call it GY6 50cc's, but we're talking about the QMJ 157 or the QMI 152 engine. There's two different types of these engines. There's the A block, which this is not. This is a B block. The B block, you're allowed to do up to 232 cc's. On the A block, you can go up to 205 cc's. And the reason why is just the stud spacing on the front of the head up here. So the GY6A is made in China, most common one. The GY6B is made in Taiwan. Please excuse the rat's nest. This is our EFI system that I've been tinkering with. I'm waiting on a few parts, so I just have all this stuff like lightly kind of like looped in. It's very, that's not the finished product, okay? So if you see it, that's, don't worry. So right here we've got a hobbled together 50cc Honda Ruckus, completely stock, hobbled together, meaning, the battery box is barely on. I just kind of pieced it together really quick so that I can show you, like if we need to go back and forth from Get Ruckus to a GY6 Ruckus, we can really easy. So when I say Get Ruckus, those of you that don't know, this is a Get engine. A Get engine is found in all, and if you could see here, can you see that? I don't know if you can, but it says Get right there. That's the reason why they call this stock Honda Ruckus engine a Get engine. So if you want more top speed and you want better acceleration, like 3 times the power, I believe that these are about 2.5 horsepower. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the stock GY6 150cc, like this one, is about 7.5 horsepower. So that's the easiest way to achieve way more power out of your Honda Ruckus. So the easy way, you can do all kinds of upgrades and things to these Get engines on your Honda Ruckus, but nothing compares. There's nothing you can do to this engine to get the GY6 150cc power. So this is the easiest swap, and not only that, the engine's a lot longer. This is an extreme case of a stretch. This is not the way all GY6s look, obviously. If you know what a GY6 is and a GY6 swap, you've seen all kinds of Ruckuses. But the GY6 engine is longer. So you're never going to achieve a perfect 50cc look like this. The back of the wheel is going to stick out, a little bit further, about 4 or 5 inches, no matter what you do. And another thing to add is when you do a GY6, they come in GY6 short and GY6 long case. You can only run a GY6 long case. The reason is because the tire will end up hitting the engine. So let me go through and show you guys exactly how to get your Get Honda Ruckus 50cc stock Ruckus to run a GY6 engine without any baloney. It'll be real easy. I'll show you what you need, what you don't need, and then we have a kit, of course. So everything that's laid out on this table here is the GY6 swap kit. Now, everything on here, well, there's a few things that are on here that don't come in the kit, like the wheel and the exhaust. But the point of this table is to show you guys exactly what you need bare minimum to run a GY6 in your Honda Ruckus. So step one is going to be, you need a GY6 engine, also known as a QMJ 157. When I say that, I'll show you. See that there? QMJ 157 or 157 QMJ. That's a GY6 150cc. Actually, we bored this one out to a 171, so let's just pretend that's a 150. Normally it comes with a kickstart cover that's sitting on the floor over there, but that's what you need, the GY6 engine for starters. Next thing you need, we'll start from the end down here. To mount your GY6 engine, the engine's not just going to go in the frame the same way that the Get engine did. Not even close. You may think that's the case, but definitely not. You're going to need an engine mount. There's all kinds of different mounts. We carry about 4 on the website, different styles and things like that. This one's like a steel mount. We've got them in billet. We've got them super mega stretched. But this system is really nice because once you attach, now I'm not going to go into detail on how to do all this because I have videos for that, but I'm going to talk about what's needed. But the cool thing about this kit is if you want a really stretched out Ruckus like the one I just showed you, you get the 12.5-inch strut, the 10-inch strut for maybe like a medium stretch, and then the 8-inch strut. Actually, I think it's like an 8.5. So you've got options here. And your shock, the stock shock will work, but it's gonna be super, super bouncy. So in short, it's not gonna work. This is our rolling wrench shock. This will mount to the frame, and then it stretches your shock out to match the frame. So then you got your shock, you got a couple different holes you can mount it to. Almost everybody mounts it to the end hole. So you're gonna definitely need the mount and the shock. And if you notice, not every shock will work. See that offset there? That needs to be done on a GY6. Do you want a really thick rear tire? You notice it has a wide tire. That's actually a 7-inch rear wheel. And what we've got on the table is an 8-inch rear wheel. When I say that, I mean the width here. And then this is a 13-inch wheel, but we've got 12-inch. 12 inches is the most common. So you got to ask yourself before you do the GY6 swap, do you want a fat tire like that or a skinny tire like this? And just for reference, you can't use the stock rear wheel with a GY6. And I'll explain that in just a little bit. But that's a common thing that people think is you can just mount the GY6 in the Honda Ruckus with no mount. The mount will just mount. The motor will just mount right in there. And you can use the stock wheel. You can't use the stock wheel. Can't use the stock exhaust. That's why I'm telling you guys, like, everything you need, you have to have this stuff if you want to run a GY6 in your Honda Ruckus. This is a 8-inch fatty GY6 mount. It's meant to run this super large 8-inch rear wheel. See that sucker? Super big. One thing I don't have on here is tires. You definitely need tires for your wheels. Now you don't have to do a front wheel, but you definitely have to do a rear wheel. So on the GY6, you have a hub, looks like this. Here's our brake system. This hub just slides right over the top like this. Wire's in the way. And I can slide this down, and then we'll lock it down. And then you can attach any wheel to this, really. Any GY6 wheel. See how the lug pattern is? That's the reason you can't run the stock wheels. Show you what I mean. You see how that wheel mounts with one nut, just like the hub does, like this. One nut. See that? Unfortunately, this part is not part of the wheel. You have to buy the hub, and then you have to buy the wheel. So does that make sense? The way that works? you can get a skinny mount. You can do a skinny, like a 5-inch rear wheel, which is basically another one of these wheels, except for it's 5 inches thick or 4 inches, depending what you want to do, instead of 8 or 7 inches. So that's what you got to decide, because you're going to purchase your stuff based on your mount. Your mount has to be for a skinny or a fatty, and then you got to choose your wheel. And then you'll need a shock and your hub. And if you noticed, got this short little wheel axle. Look at this Honda Ruckus. Here's a custom wheel, and you notice there's nothing sticking out. That's a solid piece. On this wheel, we couldn't get away with a long axle. You want to install a short wheel axle like this. This is a lot shorter than this guy. So that's something that you're definitely going to need to do the swap. And of course, you're going to need some lug nuts. So you got lug nuts there. And a brake cable. Because remember, you're stretching that sucker out. So that's an extended brake cable. You got your handbrake right here. And you can't use that because the brake cable end like about right here. And then your GY6 is going to be way back here. So it definitely won't work. Not even if you're doing that small 8-inch strut like that. And as you know, you got a center stand on your Honda Ruckus. Center kickstand isn't going to transfer over to your QMJ 157, GY6 150. You're going to need a kickstand. This is a lowered kickstand. If you don't want it lowered, then you don't have to do a lowered kickstand. You can do a tall kickstand, but I will say this. This is a lowered rear shock. We can do a taller rear shock if you wanted. If you don't want that low look. So that's another thing that you can change up. Anybody have any questions on that before I proceed? Because this stuff can get super confusing if you don't know. I know from experience. So now that you got the stance figured out, you've got your GY6 engine right here. That'll mount into the Ruckus frame with the engine mount. And then you've got your wheel with your hub and your shock. So that'll give you the stance. Now that you have everything mounted in the bike, you need to make it run. So it's going to need a carburetor. So you're going to have to get one of your carburetors. We have these in, this is a 24mm slide style carburetor. This is just your standard carburetor. It's not performance or anything like that. It's what you find in all like factory GY6s basically. And then you've got your pod air filter that just goes on the end right here. You could actually use your stock throttle cable, so that's cool. And then you'll need jets because every bike is different. You need to adjust your air fuel ratio. So we've got a little jet kit that comes with the kit, or if you just buy the stuff individual. And then the big thing is the wiring harness. How are you going to wire this up? This is the biggest headache. The wiring harness, let me improvise on this. You have a couple different options on wiring harnesses. You can do one where you pull your old wiring harness out and then you buy one of these GY6 wiring harnesses. A lot of different ones on the market. This is an option. You can pull your old wiring harness out of your Ruckus and then purchase one of these wiring harnesses and install it. Or you can purchase this. This is an adapter harness for the Honda Ruckus. When I say that, I mean you leave your original Honda Ruckus wiring harness in the Ruckus. Don't unplug anything except for your stator on your Ruckus to get your old engine out. That's all that's you're unplugging. And your carburetor plugs. Very, very simple. So you're going to get this GY6, well, you can choose whatever harness you want, but if you're buying our kit, you'll get the rolling wrench adapter harness. So you'll get your stator. This goes into the engine. It's supplied with a puller. It's installed right here. If you notice, we make the plugs 100% plug and play so that they plug right into your original Honda Ruckus wiring harness. This is the easiest harness on the market that I know of. it'll plug in about 20 minutes. I actually have a video, you can search it online. I actually pulled the GET engine out and installed a GY6 in 6 minutes. I had it running back and forth with this harness. So here is the stator that you'll get. That goes into your new GY6. It's a 12-pole stator. You get max power. A lot of companies out there run an 8-pole or an 11-pole. There's that. And then this is your ignition system. This is kind of like your CDI box. This is 100% plug and play. This plugs in line in between your right-hand control. This is a ground that goes straight to your starter. And then this is your starter solenoid. That'll plug directly into your battery and go back to your starter. So that's it. It's really easy. And you'll have your, and then you're running all the factory Honda wiring. We're just attaching the rolling wrench harness to it. So with running that, you achieve a couple different things that's super important. On a Honda Ruckus, you have that ECU that's on the side, and that controls like all of the functions of the Ruckus, low fuel. Everything goes into that box. And you also have a rectifier regulator, your charging system. And it also controls your fuel pump, the Honda fuel pump, electric fuel pump. So those are really important. If you've ever heard anything about GY6 engines, you might have heard that they're not reliable. Well, track that back, and it's never the engine. It's actually always the electrical or the fuel system. With this harness, we've addressed that. So we're running Honda, pretty much everything except for the ignition. Super reliable, made in Taiwan, our ignition. And then also the fuel pump is electric, so we don't need to mess with any of the vacuum-operated fuel pumps. So what happens with the vacuum-operated fuel pumps that you'll see in a lot of the GY6 engines is it's vacuum-operated, which means if there's no gas in the line, it has to get there some way, and that's through vacuum. So how does it get its vacuum? You turn the key on, you crank and crank and crank and crank and crank, and crank and crank and crank, and crank and crank. Finally, the gas has reached the carburetor, and finally it'll start. By that time, maybe your battery's dead and it won't start. So that's what happens with the vacuum-operated fuel pump, and why I strongly don't believe in those. But there is a fix when you have those vacuum-operated fuel valves. Is you can take your gas cap off, and you can put your mouth on the gas can, and blow. It'll push the fuel. So in long, if you don't want to make out with your Honda Ruckus gas tank, do an electric fuel pump. And there's not a better one than the Honda OEM one. That'll run all the way up to 232 cc GY6 Ruckuses. It doesn't under pump or anything like that. Just as a heads up. So not only that, is we're using the Honda Ruckus, all the signals, blinkers, all the wiring, everything is Honda reliable, and the charging system, the rectifier regulator, is being used through Honda. The only bad thing that I could tell you about this is a lot of people try to tuck their wiring harness, and they don't want that. It's kind of thick, the original wiring harness, and it makes it really difficult to tuck. It's definitely been done, but that would be like the downfall of this harness. So if you ever wanted to wire tuck it, you're just going to have a little bit more effort than if you didn't have that style of harness. All right, that was a mouthful. Now you're going to need an exhaust system. These things can be super expensive. This sucker's about 600 bucks, but man, sweet. When you buy an exhaust system, I recommend that you buy one with a bung hole. Yep, that's what I said, a bung hole. This is made for a wideband O2 sensor. What does a wideband O2 sensor do? That helps you tune the engine. So we have a wideband O2 sensor kit, and you screw that sucker in, and it's got a little gauge, and it'll tell you exactly where you are. So you're not guessing while you're trying to tune your bike. So I recommend that if you're trying to purchase, say, an exhaust system, and you're spending that kind of money, I recommend a bung hole on your exhaust. This is called the 666. This is the exhaust that we like. These are handmade in Japan. Super nice stuff. They comes with a baffle. Baffle's not in there right now. And they're a 3-piece exhaust, so they're really easy to put on. When you put exhaust systems on a bike and it's all one piece, it's very difficult to weld it all at once and not have to tweak it when you install it. because the heat and stuff bends it, you know, tweaks it out of, unless you have a nice jig, the creator of the exhaust. But the 3-piece is nice, and if one gets damaged, you can replace it. The other thing is, your GY6 engine, is, when you get it from us, is gonna come with oil, of course, engine oil and gear oil. You wanna make damn sure you get rid of any oil that's in here because it's shipping oil, low-grade shipping oil. So, this is everything that you need to swap a GY6 into your Honda Ruckus. The stuff that you definitely need. There's no way around it. So just real quick recap. You're gonna need a rear wheel. You gotta decide if you're doing an 8-inch or a skinny, like a 5-inch. Based on what you want that to look like, then you're gonna get your mount. Got a few different mounts on the market. We got a bunch on the website. This is a steel mount. Got the three struts to choose from, 8-inch stretch, 10-inch stretch, or 12.5-inch stretch. Then you got to decide if you want the lowered shock or the tall shock. The lowered shock, of course, makes it look low. Tall shock, more factory. To attach your wheel, you're going to need a hub, of course, with lug nuts. If you notice in the back here, this hub has multiple different holes, and it's basically just Allen bolts that are being used for studs. And then, of course, the short wheel axle. That needs to be done. So, got a video on that. And then it'll come with the gasket, of course. And then you need that long, extended brake cable because you're gonna have a stretched Ruckus. Even if you choose the short strut, you're gonna need it. And then the wiring harness. You're gonna need some way to use for your kickstand, though that's a lowered kickstand. Oh, one other thing we include in our kit, you'll need an exhaust gasket because it doesn't come on the engine and it doesn't come with the exhaust most of the time. And exhaust nuts. And then this little EGR block off. You'll notice if you get a GY6 150 brand new out of the box, it'll have a little EGR valve, and this will block it off if you need to. And then you'll need your carburetor, jets, and intake. You'll need the wiring harness. You'll need an exhaust system. Just be sure that if you're doing a wide rear tire, you need a wide rear tire exhaust. Otherwise, the exhaust is going to hit the wheel. And then, of course, the GY6 engine. Does anybody have any questions on what I was talking about? That was a mouthful. 50 of you son of a guns watching right now, high five. Sir, your fuel pump controller. Do you have any idea when you might have that done? Yeah, so Scott, the fuel pump controller, this is where we're at with it. Super excited about this, by the way, freaking A. So do you remember when I was talking about when you do a GY6 swap to not do a vacuum operated fuel valve and to do the Honda fuel pump? And if you want to run the stock Honda fuel pump and not have the little ECU box, when I say that, if you open your battery box, there's a big old ECU. You have to have that in order to run the pump. Well, I have this little module that I'm having made. It's been a long road to get to this point, but it's a little module and it pulses the pump because the way that that pump works is at 12 volts. 12 volts, 12 volts, kind of like a flasher. In theory, you think in your head, you know, why don't I just hook up a flasher, like a flasher for your blinkers? Doesn't work, unfortunately. So sooner or later, I'll have this little module. Say if you had like a harness that you were running a vacuum operated fuel pump and you wanted to upgrade to like an electric fuel pump, I'll have that option soon. I don't know when. Well, assuming everything works. Is the Yoshimura V2 exhaust still good? Yeah, dude, the Yoshimura exhaust is really good. I highly recommend it. That's another option. We do carry those. Yeah. Too bad it doesn't have a bung hole. Cool thing is our wideband O2 sensor kit, the tuning device that I talked about, comes with the bung hole. You can have it welded in, so that's cool. Will the gearing kit lower the vibration on the high end? Nah, not really. The best thing you can do for vibration on the drivetrain is a Ravino clutch. And then you probably ask yourself, what the hell is a Ravino clutch? I'm about to show you. So this is a Ravino clutch. These GY6s vibrate a lot. So, I mean, it's not like a dramatic amount when you install this, but it definitely helps. The only bad thing is you get this, that's a dry clutch sound. So some people don't like that. For me, I love that sound, but this guy definitely, these Ravino clutches definitely lighten up the vibration. That's for sure. Oh, the biggest impact on vibration for me was getting a better set of wheels. Yeah, dude, there is one thing though about wheels. The one-piece wheels like this is an important thing, you guys. So this is a one-piece wheel, okay? Where the hell do we get these wheels? Do they make them specially for the Honda Ruckus? No. This is an ATV wheel. This is for an off-road, all-terrain vehicle. You know, a little quad, an ATV. That's what these are. These are not made to go down the road. So I don't care how, if you start with this wheel, it's definitely not gonna be completely road smooth like a motorcycle wheel or something like that. So we take those wheels and then we cut them down to make them look like this. So you can do like custom wheels like this. This is a front wheel, you know, then you got the back wheels and stuff. So this is a one-piece wheel. Again, we start with an ATV wheel. So yeah, there is gonna be some vibration. So when you get these wheels, aftermarket wheels, it doesn't matter if it's these or those, have your wheels balanced. But you can do two-piece wheels like this. This will make it run way better because this is not one of those wheels. Normally these are a three-piece or you can do a two-piece, but these wheels tend to be a lot more straight. But there is a huge disadvantage in power when you go, so you have to choose. When you do a wheel, like a two-piece wheel like this, or a one-piece wheel like I showed you in the box over there, they both look fancy, and some of the wheels even have fake, it's a one-piece wheel, although this piece here is fake, so it just has the holes, but it's not actually a three-piece wheel or two-piece wheel. Here's the big problem, and I noticed this dramatically on this 232. By the way, this is the 666 exhausts on the table. That's what that looks like. If you're running basically in short, if you're running bolts like this that attach your wheel, these bolts weigh a ton, and it's a huge power loss to try to push those. Anytime you have those bolts going around there, you add like 3 times the weight, and you notice it. You notice it. So just so you know there. Rear disc brake kit, is it worth it? Yes. Yes. You go from like, it almost feels like a toy to like, this is serious. It does. It makes a huge difference. And I should touch on that really quick. Disc brakes are going to have, so here's a disc brake right here. You're going to use a totally different hub in there. So that's a different disc or a different hub. It runs disc brakes. And that's a lot more involved. And you can't run 7-inch wheels because the caliper will hit the inside of the wheel. You have to run 8-inch wheels, but you can't run a fatty 7. It has to be a fatty 8. 12-inch wheel. This is a 13-inch, 7-inch. 13s, it gives you a lot more clearance, but if you notice I have disc brakes on here, and if I would say anything above 170 cc, 171 cc, I would try to upgrade the brakes. And then you're gonna have a different master cylinder up here too. So a lot of times you'd run a cable, but we're running a brake line instead. I've got a kit like that on the website, of course. If you run a GY6, all you really want is front discs at least. I would say, I mean, as a 150cc, a mile above sea level, the top speed's 55, 60. The front brakes, they do work. It's not like freaking danger zone. But yeah, disc brakes are nice for sure. I'll show you about that in just a second, actually. Front disc is way better for burnouts. Yeah, totally. I want to clear this up. And so the Mad Dog scooters, they're good scooters, but you can't compare the Mad Dog to like a GY6 built Ruckus. Unless, of course, you've taken like a Chinese scooter and then you like took all the stuff off of it and then you put it into the Ruckus, kind of like a budget build. Then you're kind of comparing it to a Mad Dog or a Chuckus. All of this stuff, this aftermarket stuff is leaps and bounds better than just even the factory Honda stuff. So just to, and I'm not dogging on Chuckuses or Mad Dogs. I just want you guys to understand that there is a giant difference between a GY6 Honda Ruckus with the aftermarket parts and a Mad Dog that has like, out of the box. Mad Dog has 150. It has disc brakes, has lowered seat. It's not, if on a scale from 1 to 10 is quality, the Mad Dog might be like a 2 on quality, and then the Ruckus aftermarket parts are like more like 9 on quality. So there's a big difference in those. But here's the cool thing: you can also upgrade the stuff on the Mad Dogs as well. You know, so they're not the low quality stuff. But just wanted to make sure you guys understand that. Okay, so we've got our GY6 Honda Ruckus looking pretty sweet, like a piece of art right here. And I showed you how to install a GY6 into your Ruckus, but you notice I have some styling parts on here, like lowered seat like this. By the way, is like barely bolted on because this is the fuel injected Project Ruckus. And then you notice I have disc brakes on here, a lot different than the stock Honda Ruckus. So if we go to the stock Honda Ruckus here, we've got the stock fork, stock front wheel, and then got our stock tail light, this big thing sitting there. Some people like that. You can like it, you can keep it, or you can cut the little mounting bracket off, and then you can do different tail lights like that. Got a few different style tail lights for sure on that. And then if you notice on a stock Honda Ruckus, you got these bars, just the stock handlebars. You could run those on the 150cc GY6, no problem. But you're probably going to upgrade your handlebars to something a little more appealing, I would think. So if you do that, you might lose your blinkers. So there's a lot of things to consider when you do a GY6 Honda Ruckus. But literally, we are changing the game completely. This is not even a Honda Ruckus off the showroom floor anymore. Not at all. Especially this one. This has a 232cc. Which, by the way, if you're new here, got this freaking turbocharger for the Honda Ruckus 232 right here that we're going to be testing. Jesus, this thing weighs a ton though. So you got you got to consider a lot of things. So you want it to look stock, you want the same handlebars, things like that. And that's where phase 2 comes in. If you want a lowered seat, we've got these. There's a few different lowered seats on the market, but we've got these lowered seats, and then normally when you do a lowered seat, you do a tail light too. We got these tail lights. Again, we've got like 4 or 5 different tail lights on the website you can choose from. And let me give you a recap of these, the lowered seat, because this is important. Kind of have to go back and forth. So you notice, and like I said, don't worry about the chicken wires everywhere. This is the EFI project I'm working on. But if you notice how low and streamlined that seat is, get you another angle because that oil cooler's in the way. Most people don't mount their oil cooler like that, but there's a low seat. Now we'll pivot over here so you can see the stock Ruckus seat like that. Again, you could do this if you like this little flare up. We've got those options too, so you can drop the seat down about 3 inches and you have the same look and everything. So that's one thing. And then here's your stock tail light with blinkers, or do something that's kind of tucked under your seat like that. So that's the lowered seat and the tail light. Most of the time, if you're doing a tail light, you're going to do like an LED tail light. Well, the stock flasher relay will not work. So you're going to need an LED flasher relay. See that little adjuster? That'll adjust the flash speed so that we don't have to, it's either going to be blinking really fast like the hyper flash. You need one of these to solve that problem. Unfortunately, this isn't plug and play. You'll have to wire that in, but it's really easy. So, talked about the handlebars. Everybody knows what the stock handlebars look like. And you can get a stem that looks like this. You pull your stock handlebars off. This mounts to the handlebars. Where the handlebars were is basically the triple tree. That'll mount there. And then you can attach any bars you want. In this case, these are the bigger bars. I think if we go size 1.25 inches, I believe, or you can have a 7/8 more standard bar that's more like this thick down there. So this will attach a variety of different bars, or you can do like more of like the clip-on bars. So it would be like the traditional handlebars. It's like that. See how those are? That gives you a really low stance. It just depends what you're going after. You just have to decide what handlebars you want to go with. Then you might want to start thinking about what gauge you want. You want to keep that stock gauge? Here's something to talk about. The stock gauge is driven by a cable right here. Cable comes down and goes into the front wheel. Now, if you upgrade your wheels, you're not going to have that option. There's no spot for a cable. You can't do it. So, like in this scenario, any aftermarket gauge pretty much is going to have a little wire, a fly-by-wire. This is our Moto gadget, or gauge. See how it has the wire that comes down and then goes into there? And that'll read it's got a little magnet here that goes around your disc brake. So remember, if you change the front wheel or the front end at all, you want to start to consider gauges as well. I'm trying to cover everything here. From here over is our Honda Ruckus disc brake front end kit. When you do a disc brake front end kit, these are lowered shocks. They're, I don't know, 2.5 inches lower than the stock shocks. We also have these shocks in a little bit longer, so it's more like stock. So we have that option on the website. And these are oil filled. The other ones are just springs and grease. So you know how those things on your car that open and they go real slow? It's just like the back hatch or even the hood sometimes. You know how that feels? It's not springy. To give you an idea what these feel like as opposed to the stock front end. These are hydraulic shocks, front shocks. The stock Honda Ruckus axle is a 10 millimeter. This is a 12 millimeter. So you're even gonna need to beef up your axle when you do this. So that's gonna come in the kit. So then you've got your little hanger. You gotta have a way to attach your brake caliper. So you've got this little hanger that'll bolt to that. And then this will bolt to the caliper like that. And then this will bolt to your wheel. 220 millimeter wave cut rotor. Normally I have this in black. I'm actually out of black right now, but black will come in the black kit. We've got this whole kit in silver too. And it'll come with these bolts, of course, to mount these to the wheel. So if you have those, you're gonna need a master cylinder brake hose. Got the murdered out black one. Of course, it comes with the banjo. And the cool thing is we've got the wheel spacers as well. If you notice, you'll have to space your wheels accordingly. All Ruckuses have different wheels, different forks, things like that. Eventually, I'll have my front end kit with our wheels, and they'll come spaced perfectly. But that's something to think about, is you gotta space it out. But the good news is it's part of the kit. Okay, then you got your master cylinders. This is for your front disc brakes. Oh, hang on. My mom's calling me. Hello, Mom. You're live. You're live. Oh, hi, Mom. What are you doing? Thank you. I love you. Bye. She said I'm doing good. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom. Whoa. All right, back to this. So this is your master cylinder, because remember, before you had a cable, the Ruckus has cable front and cable rear. The right one's your front brake, left one's your rear, and they're cable driven. So this is gonna be hydraulic. Much, much better stopping power with this guy. So you'll need that. The hose will attach to it. And then you've got your rear drum brake lever to match. So that's cool. And if you notice on the right side, you've got your little, this is for your brake sensor. but the left side doesn't have it because this is made for a clutch, actually for a motorcycle. So we've got this guy, this will actually bolts to that, and then you've got this little button. That's a sensor that you can mount to this. So now you have sensors for the front and rear brakes. So that's included in our little kit. Then we got our plug and play left hand control. Go left, right, horn, left, high and low beam. This is a little, and it plugs directly into your stock Honda Ruckus. Or this works on any GY6 Ruckus, doesn't matter if it's our harness or not. And the other cool thing is, so I'll walk over to the stock Ruckus and I'll show you why it's so important to have this stuff. But here is the start button here. If you see how that guy is shaped? See that little half that bolts down to the handlebar? So you would remove that and bolt this one to it. And now we've got our start button there. Call that the arcade start button. Now let me show you why so this, just a heads up, this is our front end kit. This is the rolling wrench front end kit. This is everything that you get. So it's a full on solution for Honda Ruckus front end. This one has it, but it's got some fancy switches on here, a little different. But let me show you the Honda Ruckus stock Honda Ruckus. So here's the rear. If I remove this lever, if I remove this off of here, you know, this is where your buttons are. And then integrated into your buttons is your lever. So you really can't remove your lever or do a disc front end kit without removing your switches too. So you have to have a solution. Same with the other side. You got your kill switch and start, and it's all part of the lever setup. So whenever we go back to our switches, okay, this one bolts to the handlebars, left and right, horn, high and low beam. So that'll take care of that. And then here's our new lever, okay? And then you've got your master cylinder and your little start button. Your kill switch is going to be done with the key. So that's that. Man, that's weird. All right. Anybody have any freaking questions? Mom, I love you. Thank you for calling me and telling me I'm doing a good job. All right, so you may have noticed that I have a pretty sweet shirt on. Mike's Mini Motors is a YouTube channel. If he's in here, give a thumbs up, Mike. Here is the switches I'm running. And these are really expensive. These are Moto Gadget switches. And let me show you. So if I go into my app, you notice these lights. These are my blinkers on the side here. Once I enter into my app like that, so my bike is actually noticed that I'm here. Notice there's no key. Let me slide this over a little bit. There's no key in here, okay? So, but I have my phone. So all I gotta do is hit this twice. See that? This will be part of our Pro harness coming soon. So these, you can't really run these on a stock Honda Ruckus because they're momentary switches, meaning they don't latch. So if I push this down, it didn't latch, it just pushed the button once. If I push it again, if I push this twice, it'll kill it, like that. My EFI system's going haywire. But I do have something really freaking cool I should show you guys. Here they are. These are switches that we can run on our stock Honda Ruckus. Reason why is because, so this will be like your right hand control. See how these latch? When I say latch, I mean I push it down and see how it goes down just a little further? It's latching. It's basically being held down like as if I was going like this. So this will be our kill switch, start button, and that'll be your right blinker. So that'll be on your right side. These will be 100% plug and play. I haven't got to these yet, but this is a little secret that I'm letting you guys in. And then you got your left hand control. So this will be your high beam, low beam. That'll be your horn. And then back here, your left blinker. Or I can move it around, do it however I want. But that's what these switches are going to be for our Pro harness. And I'll also offer these as well too. Just, you can attach these to a stock Honda Ruckus or whatever if you're running different levers. Pretty trick, huh? Those are coming. So where I'm at with the EFI right now is I have to, so the EFI system, it uses a 5-volt signal for the coil, which really sucks because I was going to use the EVI that we have, and it's not going to work. So I'm waiting. On Wednesday I'll have the coil. Basically it's for an LS, like a GM motor. I'm trying to work around that, but right now I need a car coil basically to make it work. If I want to be able to control the timing myself, I need to I can't use I have to use the system, so which requires a 5-volt signal. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for, and that's the holdup on the whole EFI system. But I'm so freaking close, so close. I'm getting loopy, you guys. I better go. I'm like a kid after I ate a bunch of candy, which I have. Mango. Papa loves mango.
How many of those did you eat today?
I've ate a lot. Well, I'm not gonna smack in you guys' ear. I appreciate you guys more than you freaking know. And we'll see you in the next live. We do lives every Friday. So if you could, give me a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And I'll see you guys in the next video.